coronavirus pandemic, the U.S. Army is proceeding with this year's graduation ceremony at Westpoint with President Trump as the keynote speaker. Despite the Academy declaring a public health emergency, Westpoint is asking 1,000 cadets to return to campus in New York, the state hardest hit by the virus. With me now, Will Goodwin. He's a retired Army veteran, and he is currently the Director of Government Relations for Vote Vets, which is a liberal veterans group. So, Will, thank you so much for being on with me today. And when you heard about all of this, I know you had some strong thoughts. What are they?
Absolutely, Brooke. I mean, in some ways, it's sadly not surprising. This president, for the last 3.5 years, has always taken the chance at every turn to use the military as a tool for his own domestic political gain, whether that was trying to ban transgender troops from serving openly, sending troops to the border over the holidays, over the caravan situation. I mean, he has just shown us time and again that it's all about him. And in this case, he wants to give a big speech. He enjoys the pomp and circumstance, as we know from his military parade requests that he's done in the past. And he'll stop at nothing. And in this case, he's going to put people at risk. And not only put people at risk in the travel situation, but risk our military readiness, because we're talking about 1,000 incoming U.S. Army officers who are going to be the next generation of leaders. And the idea that any of those people would be put at risk is just unbelievable. You
hit on 2 points I want to follow up on. One, just the risk in terms of travel. I mean, if you're a West Point cadet, you're graduating, you've gone home, you've been in quarantine, what steps, what risks will these cadets be facing to get to West Point?
Right. Well, I mean, we have to remember these cadets are all across the country right now, unlike the situation at the Air Force Academy where the cadets were still on the campus. We're talking about people traveling from all corners of the country back to New York. And as you've reported so well earlier in the show today, we don't know the health impacts of this. Healthy people are becoming very sick from coronavirus. And even these young, healthy future Army officers are going to be put at great personal risk.
Now, President Trump did say that it was, he was asked to be the commencement speaker at West Point. You say that's not true. How do you know that?
Well, I mean, to our understanding, the military is planning several contingencies. One, doing commencement later in the summer once they felt it was safer, or doing a virtual commencement, which is what the Naval Academy is going to be doing. But instead of listening to the military formal recommendation and bring it to the president just decided to, again, go out and make the decision himself without telling the military ahead of time and allowing them to go through that deliberate planning process. It's the same thing that he's done in so many other scenarios, whether that was withdrawing U.S. troops from northern Syria, announcing, as we already said, the transgender troop ban by a tweet. I mean, we keep seeing this over and over again. And just recently on the USS Roosevelt with Captain Crozier, a commander who was telling the president and the Secretary of Defense what he needed to keep people safe, and the president didn't listen.
Yeah. To your point, Will, about risking military readiness, and the plan, as we pointed out for this commencement, so you have these 1,000 cadets going back to New York, center of the U.S. pandemic, under lockdown orders. No one knows what the virus will look like by then. How much is the president risking our military readiness by doing this?
Well, I mean, we've already seen it play out in the Navy, taking aircraft carriers effectively out of being combat ready because we didn't do enough to contain the spread of the virus and take all the necessary precautions. I mean, we're talking about people going back and living in barracks, being in close quarters, eating at the West Point mess hall. I mean, the proximity is unavoidable. And if even one of these cadets gets sick, they might not even be able to attend this graduation ceremony that he's making such a big fuss about. So, I mean, the risk is real, and it's also not the right way to welcome these 1,000 brave Americans into the U.S. Army as future Army leaders.
I appreciate your perspective. Thank you for everything you've done for this country. Be well, Will Goodwin. Thank you.
Thank you, Brooke.
The White House says there will be no